The battlefield on Zithron 9 was a landscape of ash and ruin. Fires smoldered across the jagged terrain, painting the sky with orange streaks that reflected the chaos below. Smoke curled in thick black ribbons as the remnants of the final skirmish between the Zytherian Dominion and the United Earth Coalition lay strewn in twisted metal and shattered exoskeletons. Amid the carnage, Lieutenant Cara Vera crawled through the rubble. Her crimson armor was shattered, charred in places, and her 2 lower limbs had been torn away by a plasma blast that had struck her during the last assault. Her breathing was ragged, shallow, but her violet eyes, fierce and unyielding, scanned the battlefield with the vigilance of a predator. Yet even a predator, she realized, could be left behind. From behind a pile of scorched debris, Corporal Ryan Hayes spotted her. The human Marine had seen enough battlefield horrors in his 4 years of service to steel himself against panic, but there was something about the alien warrior's predicament that stirred an unfamiliar anger within him. "Lieutenant Vera," he shouted, his voice slicing through the smoky air. "Hold on, I've got you." Kara's head turned slightly, her jaw clenched in defiance. Zytherian pride was legendary, and she had been taught from the moment she could walk, or had walked, that asking for help was weakness. Yet, in that instant, weakness was all that remained of her. Her legs were gone. Every instinct screamed for her to move, to fight, to crawl, to survive, but her body refused to obey. "Hayes, it's hopeless," she rasped. Her words were laced with the guttural edge of Zytherian speech, haltingly translated by the implant in her throat. "Leave before the Dominion returns." Ryan shook his head, climbing over the jagged wreckage with a determination that bordered on stubbornness. "I don't leave anyone behind. Not you. Not today." And so he did the impossible. He lifted Kara, a feat complicated not just by her size. Zytherians were taller and stronger than humans, but by the shattered exoskeleton that had once encased her. Her arms, thickly muscled, could have ripped him apart in any other situation, yet she did not resist. Perhaps it was resignation. Perhaps it was something else. The strange alien trust that can only form in the crucible of war. Using debris for cover, Ryan carried her across the battlefield, weaving through broken plasma turrets and smoldering trenches. His own armor was scorched in places, his boots coated in ash and blood, but he did not falter. Every step, every grunt of exertion, was dedicated to the one alien warrior who had once fought beside him, firing a plasma rifle with unmatched precision, saving human lives he would never have understood. Hours later, they reached the evacuation zone. The United Earth Coalition dropship descended amidst flares of anti-air fire, and Ryan laid Kara gently on a medical pallet as medics rushed toward them. "Marine Hayes," one of the medics said, voice tight with surprise and concern. "You brought her back, you saved her." Ryan looked down at Kara. Her face was pale, sweat mingling with soot streaks, but there was a spark in her violet eyes that refused to die. "She's not just a Zytherian," he said quietly. "She's one of us now. And I don't leave my squad behind." The medic nodded, though Ryan could see the doubt in their eyes. Most humans didn't understand the Zytherians. Never mind the ferocity required to save one whose own kind had left her for dead. Kara's recovery was grueling. The Dominion's plasma blast had destroyed nerve endings, severed major arteries, and shattered bone structures. The medics did what they could. Synthetic limbs were attached, nerve grafts attempted, but Zytherians were not meant to be bound to human technology. She could not walk as she had, could not fight as she once had. Days bled into weeks. Ryan refused to leave her side. Every meal he carried to her, every time he helped her adjust to the cumbersome prosthetics, he reminded himself that this was what honor demanded. Kara, for her part, was silent at first. Zytherian culture demanded resilience, and silence was a form of dignity. She watched Ryan as he moved around her makeshift recovery room, observing every gesture, every careful motion. And slowly something began to shift. Where once she had seen only the limitations of her body, she began to see a determination reflected in human form that she had never encountered among her own kind. "You humans are stubborn," she said one evening, her voice still weak but laced with her natural authority. "Even when defeat is obvious, you fight on." Ryan smiled, brushing a stray strand of hair from his forehead. "And you Zytherians are proud," he replied. "Even when the odds are impossible, you survive." It was a small exchange, but in it lay the seed of trust, Perhaps even something deeper. Months later, Kara could move with her prosthetic legs, though she could not sprint or leap as she had before. She relearned the basics of combat, first in simulation, then in controlled sparring exercises. Ryan trained beside her, not as a superior officer, but as a companion, a comrade. Slowly, the two forged a bond that defied both species and protocol. But peace was fleeting. Intelligence reports indicated that the Zytherian Dominion had not forgiven the Coalition for Zithron 9, nor had they forgotten Caravera, the legendary warrior who had survived a plasma blast that should have killed her. A special strike force was being mobilized, and they would come for her. Ryan and Kara knew the danger, but retreat was not an option. If the Dominion captured Kara, they would use her to demoralize Coalition forces and, worse, experiment on her, creating weapons from her shattered body. On the night of the assault, Ryan and Kara stood atop a ridge overlooking the valley where Dominion forces would arrive. Kara's prosthetic legs gleamed under the moonlight, and her eyes shone with a determination that rivaled the stars. "You don't have to stay with me," she said, voice steady. "If you survive, live. Don't die for a broken alien warrior." Ryan shook his head. "I've been in war zones before. I know how it ends when you abandon someone who trusts you. I don't leave people behind, Kara. Not now, not ever." The first wave of Zytherian dropships descended like shadows across the battlefield. Plasma fire streaked through the sky, lighting the valley with deadly brilliance. Kara and Ryan moved as one, covering each other, striking with a precision that came from months of shared training and trust. But even their combined skill was tested to the limit. The Dominion had brought reinforcements, elite warriors whose reputation rivaled Kara's own. In the chaos, Kara was struck again, this time in the torso, and she collapsed. Ryan dove, shielding her with his body as plasma bolts slammed into the ridge. "Hold on," he shouted, dragging her into the trench. His heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He could feel her trembling, could feel the pain she refused to speak. "You are not dying today, Kara," he said through gritted teeth. "I will not let them take you. Not while I'm breathing." Hours passed like this, combat weaving around them as they held their position. Ryan's determination and Kara's tactical brilliance eventually turned the tide. By dawn, the Dominion forces had been repelled, leaving the valley littered with wreckage and bodies. Kara, exhausted but alive, looked at Ryan with an expression that conveyed more than words could. "You stayed," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the crackle of burning debris. "I told you I wouldn't leave," Ryan said simply. In the weeks that followed, Kara's reputation grew, not just as a survivor, but as a symbol of something unprecedented. An alliance of respect and trust between human and Zytherian that defied centuries of enmity. Her story of loss, recovery, and resilience spread across coalition lines. And at the heart of that story was a human marine who refused to abandon her, a man whose loyalty had rekindled the warrior's spirit. Eventually, Kara adapted fully to her prosthetic limbs. She returned to active duty, but this time not as a lone Zytherian warrior. Ryan remained by her side, not merely as a comrade, but as a partner in every sense of the word. Together they trained new recruits, blending human ingenuity with Zytherian strategy, teaching that the greatest strength is not in one species alone, but in unity. On a quiet evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Kara and Ryan stood atop the ridge overlooking the same valley where she had once been left for dead. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the scarred land. "You know," Kara said softly, her prosthetic legs glinting in the fading sun, "I would have believed death was preferable to dependency, if it weren't for you." Ryan laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet air. "Good thing I don't give up on anyone." For the first time in her life, Kara did not feel broken. She was whole. Not because her body had been restored, but because someone had refused to abandon her when the world had written her off. And in that union of human perseverance and alien resilience, a new chapter began, not just for Caravera, but for the future of interspecies cooperation, proving that even in the darkest moments, hope and loyalty can forge legends. The battlefield on Zithron 9 would always be scarred, but so too was the spirit of those who refused to leave each other behind. And sometimes that was enough to change the course of history.